informational content every single day. Why do you think the price is having such an anemic time? The news story of the hour. Jump onto the chart. Is this the beginning of a massive financial unraveling? We gotta add a little addendum to the show map today. So we start here on the daily. Now, we've been looking at the RSI on Bitcoin's daily chart for the last several days. It always has been, but it's been increasing over the last 50 years since we've been out there. The government has been getting bigger. Hey guys, what's going on? Jebb here, and welcome back to Coffee and Crypto. This is your weekday morning show where we bring you the latest Bitcoin and cryptocurrency technical, on-chain, and fundamental analysis. In today's video, we're going to be bringing you some of that fundamental analysis having to do with a very important number, and that would be the U.S. unemployment rate dropped down to 3.5%. It was 3.6% over the last couple of months. At least that is what is reported, but that has dropped. We're also going to be talking about some of the other big metrics like non-farm payrolls, more than doubling expectation, beating the forecast of 250,000, jumping up to a certain number, which we will jump into here in just a little bit. We're going to be looking at Voyager Digital and some money getting returned to their clients. We're going to talk about CME, and we're going to talk about a lot of different things, including jumping into some technical analysis on the Bitcoin charts. We got a great guest lineup for today. We're going to bring him in a little bit later. He's not here yet. At about 10:20, we're going to bring him in. We'll let you know who that is. And we got a great show coming up. I'm really looking forward to it. If you guys enjoyed today's show, I want you to do a couple things for me. Number one, smash that like button. Let's get to 100 likes before we even get started here. Make sure to subscribe to the channel. Follow us on all of our social media over on Instagram and Twitter and TikTok for all of us. Make sure to check out all those handles down below. And also check out Cointelegraph's YouTube channel because I interviewed Kevin O'Leary over on Market Talks yesterday. It was a phenomenal interview. Well, I already love you, but I'd love for you to go and check out that interview because it went really great. I am excited, as always, to be joined by none other than T-Shroom. How you doing, T-Shroom?
Well, I'm doing better than I deserve, and my sunburn has gone away, so I am a lot less itchy.
Is that why you're wearing sunglasses inside? You're like scared of the sun now?
I am wearing sunglasses inside because I totally forgot to take them off, but I think I'm going to leave them on.
They look good.
Those are some spicy Ozark trails.
I think that, yeah. And these are actually courtesy of yours truly, Smay.
Yeah.
Speaking of Smay, hi Smay.
I provided those because I'm all about retinal health, and if you guys don't know, one of the things I do is I provide sunglasses for people who I feel like maybe have vulnerable retinas. So
I have very vulnerable retinas, and you have never once bought me a pair of sunglasses.
Well, you just seem like the kind of guy who could supply his own sunglasses.
In fact, you know what? I do have my own sunglasses.
But I'm not.
In fact, I have prescription aviators, and they're
Yeah,
broken
see,
right now.
I can't provide prescription glasses.
But they're broken right now, and I haven't had time to go and get them fixed.
I'm not a registered eye doctor.
And every time I drive to work, I'm driving straight into the sun. I was sitting there holding my I'm not even joking.
All right, so guys, I'm excited to bring you guys some green names this morning. So I'm so excited to do that. I'm gonna read some green names here. We got Salty Head of Salt. We got Tyler Main. We got Brad Geidel. We got who else we got here? We got Elliot Locke. We got Matt C. We got Gia S. We got Brad Geidel. We got Elliot Locke. I think I've just read these names over and over again. Let me just see if I can find some new ones. We got Mike Lowry. We got Freedom Advocate. We got Agent Gold. We got my eyes are getting worse. Maybe I need to invest in my retinal health.
You do.
Save the retinas.
Then we got a fellow fellow, Silent Mitch, Jordan James, Grand Roofing Incorporated.
Jordan J. Jamison.
All of you guys are the best. I was gonna. I have another shout out. KellyKellam is in the chat somewhere. I almost feel him. There's like a presence in
There is a little bit of a Kellam's kind of aura
There's like
in
a
here
Kellam
today.
There's like a Kellam aura in here, but I think we'll find out what that's all about a little bit
Kindred Kellam kind of
later.
in our
A
midst.
little Kellam spirit.
Little Kellam?
You know?
Is that if when he becomes a dad maybe one day in the future, will his little kid be named Little Kellam?
Perhaps.
Kelly,
No. He is the Little Kellam.
That's true. He is the Little Kellam.
He is the Little Kellam because his Papa Kellam watches us as well.
Wait a minute. Does that mean that if he has a kid, it's going to be Lil Kellam? Rapper name right out the womb.
I like it. I think the important part is his Twitter is @KellyKellam.
That's true. It is a very important part.
True.
That's very.
We'll be talking about Kelly more later, guys. We got an ad to read.
Yeah.
Whoa.
I'm glad you.
And these ads are unstoppable, buddy.
Well, hold on. You spoiled what I was about to say. So,
I'm
guys,
unstoppable. I'm sorry.
You know what's a real shame?
What?
Having domains that are stoppable. like imagine having a .com or a .net or .tv that
Can
you
you
have
believe that?
you have to look, this word sucks.
CryptoJebb.com. Can you believe
You
that
have
domain?
to rent it. It's not even yours.
Yikes.
Forget about that. We're in the world of Web3 and DeFi, baby. And guess what you can do? Buy some unstoppable domains. Means you own them. You buy them. No more fees after that. They are yours. And you have so many cool little extensions like .crypto and .blockchain. I don't know. I think there's a lot of great
.xyz.
extensions there. A lot better than boring .com, .net. Gross.
.commercial.
So guys, this is also a great way of simplifying the new DeFi world we're gonna live in. You don't have to type in big giant wallet addresses to send crypto to people. You just send them to your domain. It's great. And guys, here's the best part of it. We're early right now. We're early. If you're listening to this ad is tickling your ears right now. You're early in the DeFi era. And that means that it's a gold rush to get these domains, because there was a guy, Jebb, and correct me if I'm wrong, there was a guy who bought business.crypto.
That's true.
Sold it for 39 Ethereum.
That man made some money.
That's a lot of Ethereum.
That's a lot of
So, guys,
That's a lot of dough.
it is a gold
That's a lot
rush.
of
Get
dough.
on Unstoppable Domains. Use our link below and get you some domains today. Be a part of the new future that DeFi and Web3 is going to bring all of us into. Back to you, Jebb.
It's already bringing us into.
It is already bringing
That's
us
right.
into it. You know what Unstoppable Domains needs to do?
What?
They need to get an unstoppable domain, because if you go to unstoppabledomains.com, maybe you can go buy unstoppable.btc and sell it right back to them. Either way, we got a lot of content to jump into, so I'm going to go ahead and
I'm
kick
sure
it on
they
over.
probably already.
They probably already have
Anyways.
that. They probably reserved that for
I mean, I'm
themselves.
sure they thought
I
of
just
that.
had to say it. Like, it's unstoppable domains, but they're on .com. I think they need to learn their own. Anyway, point is, get yourself an unstoppable domain, because they are dope.
That is funny.
Make sure that you check them out. T-Shroom, we have a market pulse to run through. Why don't you take us away?
We do have a bit of a market pulse today, and we're going to start off with the big news that Jebb was talking about at the top of the hour, and that is the unemployment rate. Smay, if you'd go to my screen,
It'd be my pleasure.
I really appreciate that. So it dropped here in the United States. This is the Canadian ones. Do not get confused with the monopoly rates up there. No, I'm just kidding. If you're in Canada, you probably don't feel great about that kind of a comment. But unemployment rate came out. It printed and beat the forecast. 3.5 is our unemployment rate for July. And the non-farm payroll really beat. Really beat. 528,000 new jobs. Forecast was 250,000. So really beat there. Big beat. And then the revision from the previous was almost 400,000. So really big beat there. So what does this mean? This means that the Fed now has further justification for a 100 basis point hike if they want to. But more than likely, this has made a more hawkish environment, as Caleb likes to say, kind of talking about the economic environment that we are now in. If you still on my screen, Smay? If you go, I'm showing you the September 21st CME predictions, and right now they're about 50-50, 46-54. 54 has it at 50 basis point hike. So the market just by a hair is thinking that the Fed is going to do a 50 basis point hike. And so, we shall see. That's yet to be determined, and we won't know until September. But this is the first number that has come since Jerome Powell said that there's going to be limited guidance coming from the Fed. So it automatically, when he said that, it made all of these data drops much more important. So we got our first one. The next one will be inflation on August 10th, and we will be absolutely looking out for that. But overall, folks, say a thing or two about the validity of these numbers, but overall, this is a good thing for the U.S. economy. It means that we're, by a more robust and comprehensive definition of a recession, we're not slipping into a recession by that definition and by these numbers. So take for that what you will. I know a lot of people in the crypto space do not trust either the definition of a recession or the unemployment rate numbers and the derivative information that they come from.
What's your opinion on the unemployment rate? Because it does sound like a complete and total joke, to be honest with you, because it doesn't make any sense that we'd be seeing 3.5% unemployment rate with what we're seeing in the economy right now.
What do I think about it? I want to be consistent. My views in the past have been, yeah, there's probably some voodoo going on behind the scenes to generate outcomes. But at the end of the day, this is the ordained number coming down from the Bureau of Labor Statistics, I imagine. And so you can't, like, it's data, right? And the market's going to move on that data. So it doesn't really matter if it's true or not, if it's valid or not. What matters is which way the market's going to move, and you want to position your portfolio accordingly. Personally, I think that it's probably not far off the truth in terms of movement. In terms of the actual unemployment rate, who knows? But in terms of movement, it's not getting worse. That's where I think the useful bits of data.
You're saying relatively speaking, it is that what we need to be looking at, not necessarily the exact number.
That's right.
Because if you look at you have it up here. You can look at the unemployment rate over the last 12 months, and it's come down from what they're calling a 5.4.
Right.
In trading sideways at 3.6 for 4 months, now 3.5.
Yeah, and that's convenient. It's a convenient outcome if you have an election coming up.
Yeah,
so,
for sure.
If you're a certain party that wants to stay in power, that's definitely a good outcome for you today. And if you're the Fed that wants to continue trying to put water on the fire of that is inflation, that is also a good number for you because it gives you a big green light to do so. But moving along, we do have some interesting news, some news that you all may know all too well if you were in Voyager. But bankrupt crypto broker Voyager Digital approved to return $270 million to clients, which is pretty good news. You may see some change back on those dollars that you invested with Voyager. On Thursday, presiding judge Michael Willis gave Voyager the nod to return funds to customers held in a custodial account at the Metropolitan Commercial Bank. New Jersey-based crypto firm filed for Chapter 11 bankruptcy in July as crypto prices plummeted, creating a bank run that forced Voyager to halt withdrawals. And again, some of you may know this story all too well, but Voyager expects to conclude its sale process in September, with FTX trading making an offer to purchase some of Voyager's assets as well as take on some of its customers. So you're not going to get your money quite yet, but the judge has approved it, meaning that they don't. What that means is now Voyager has settled everything that it has from in the legal background with all of its creditors, and now it has the green light to go ahead and pay back those who lent it money from the retail space. You and me, not me though. I didn't get into Voyager, but yeah. So that's overall pretty good news. You're not going to get all your money back, it looks like, but you'll get some of it back eventually if you were in Voyager. CME to roll out euro-denominated Bitcoin and Ether futures on August 29th. So this should bring more volume, theoretically, to the futures market, or spread out the existing volume. If folks in Europe were trading on the U.S. markets, the U.S. future markets, now or in USD, now they'll more than likely go over to the euro if that's going to be more convenient for their balance sheet. But this is some interesting news. So we're not going to go too deep into this because it's not. I doubt we have a ton of European viewers. Most of our viewers are North American based. But this is pretty interesting, and this can definitely affect volumes. What off the top of your head, Jebb? What do you think would have the biggest impact from this headline? Yeah,
well, I think the important thing to keep in mind is that institutional adoption and institutional products around the adoption area of cryptocurrency are extremely important. That's something I talked about with Kevin O'Leary yesterday over on Cointelegraph, is that right now Bitcoin and cryptocurrency is a $100 trillion opportunity that nobody's able to interface with and nobody's able to get into. So when you see, CME moving out new futures contracts, and you see the city of Chicago pictured there, that's a really big deal because that adds more institutional products that different companies are able to use to get involved with Bitcoin and cryptocurrency. I think the bigger story at hand is that we need to see institutional adoption and institutional on-ramps built for crypto. And I know you've heard that 1,000 times, but the reason you keep hearing that is because it's very important. There's so much institutional money that wants to come into Bitcoin and crypto, but it just can't right now because, as Kevin was talking about yesterday, compliance departments don't have a way to interface with cryptocurrency exchanges and companies and reporting and taxes and accounting and infrastructure and buying and purchasing and selling and all of these different factors that come into play when an institution is buying and selling cryptocurrency. That's not even talking about the regulatory compliance, the compliance side of things. It's very difficult for institutions to get into cryptocurrency. Things like CME rolling out euro-denominated Bitcoin and Ether futures on August 29th. is very helpful because it allows these companies and these institutions and even individuals to start getting into Bitcoin and Ethereum based in sovereign currencies. And some of these different companies are working with sovereign currencies and they want to transact those into Bitcoin and Ethereum. I think it's a really big deal. It is kind of ancillary to the point and it's side to the point, which we don't need more futures contracts. We need spot ETFs, and Bitcoin the United States is lagging behind in that department. I think it's a great thing. I don't honestly think this is going to be that big of a deal, but it is, it is one of the bigger headlines for today, so it's better than nothing. It does signal increased institutional adoption. It does signal that CME is continuing its interest in Bitcoin and cryptocurrency, which is very important. But ultimately, until we see a spot ETF come out and until we start to see more regulatory framework, regulatory clarity, it's going to be difficult for those institutions to really jump on board in the first place.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, Jebb mentioned it, but if you haven't already, you should definitely go over to cointelegraph.com and check out the interview that Jebb did yesterday with Kevin O'Leary. It was a lot of fun. Got two more stories here. The first one you may have already heard of because it's a very big national story, but Senator Kyrsten Sinema has backed the Inflation Reduction Act, giving Biden the votes for Senate passage. And I'll just go ahead and read through this. Her backing sets up a final version of the bill to be introduced Saturday and the likelihood of a major legislative win for President Joe Biden. There she is, Kyrsten Sinema. I believe she's the senator of Arizona. To address climate change, the bill will provide billions in tax credits to develop and expand clean energy transmission infrastructure, which could potentially, very big if, that could potentially get translated into the proof of stake merge, the Ethereum, that could potentially get classified in there as Ethereum looks to go green in September fully. But the bill, back to the Inflation Reduction Act, the bill would raise an estimated $739 billion in new tax revenue, more than offsetting the $433 billion in proposed new spending. So I believe that's all we're going to read there. But essentially, this is a very big bill, and this is definitely not something to be ignored. It's raising. So where's that tax coming from? I believe that's coming from an increased tax on corporations. So the S&P is not going to like this news, and it's down today. It's down in the morning, but it's also down because of that inflation number and the effect that could potentially have on a 100% or 100 basis point hike or 75 basis point hike in September. So, but you should definitely know about this, and we're not going to go into super big detail unless Jebb has any expansionary thoughts.
No, I do have a point to make here. So let me just explain to you how stupid what the government is doing here is, because this is really, these are your lawmakers at work, guys. Let me just break down what's going on here. So the Inflation Reduction Act wants to help get inflation under control, and it's a bill. They're all 42,000 pages long, so there's so much stuff in there that there's not a theme to a lot of these bills. Different senators come in, and a House representative, they say, okay, add this, because I want to get reelected. Midterms are coming up. But let's break down this segment right here. The bill would raise an estimated $739 billion in new tax revenue, more than offsetting the $433 billion in proposed new spending. The legislation would decrease the federal deficit by $102 billion over the next decade, according to the Congressional Budget Office. That's wonderful. You ought to fire everybody in the Congressional Budget Office and everybody who is sending them the budget, because we're running a multi-trillion-dollar deficit every year right now. Over the next decade, we're going to spend over $10 trillion more dollars than we've raised through taxes. Here's the problem. We got inflation, which is a silent tax stealing wealth from Americans. Now, they want to raise $739 billion more dollars taken. By the way, every dollar that goes to taxes is taken directly out of the economy and directly out of economic growth. Now, some of it might be reinvested, and some of it gets reinvested in a profitable way. Every dollar that goes into NASA, they've shown over the last 50 years, has brought about $20 of economic growth. That's a great investment. What you're telling me is you're gonna raise $739 billion. You're gonna spend $433 billion of it, and so you're taking $740 billion out of the economy to offset inflation. And the reason inflation is a problem is because you're taking money out of the economy by inflating and destroying the currency. So you're trying to solve the problem of there being a fire by adding more fire. That's the problem that we're running into with the government, and why we need to strip the government of its ability to manipulate the currency in the first place, which is what's causing inflation. Because if we can't cause inflation because either the US dollar gets backed by Bitcoin, which is probably not going to happen, or Bitcoin takes over a majority part of the economy and the economy starts to base itself on Bitcoin rather than the US dollar, that's when you're going to stop seeing these ridiculous measures of, oh, let's raise taxes, let's print more money to get out of printing money. The Federal Reserve and the rest of the governing bodies that are involved in anything that impacts inflation use the problem that caused inflation to cure inflation. It's like you let's say you have too many, prescription drugs in your body, and then you go to a doctor and they're like, here's another 17 of them so that you can get rid of those, and then now we have more. You're fighting fire with fire here, and that's just not the way it works. You have to get the inflation under control by not printing the money and by stopping raising taxes. And yes, increasing interest rates does help some, but not a whole lot. It's ridiculous the way the government is trying to fix this because they don't have a solution, because the government is set up in a system of have more power, have more power, have more power, have more power. The problem is the government has too much power. So unless you have a paradigm shift, which is almost certainly not going to happen, it's never going to be solved by the government. You must have a new system like Bitcoin come in and pave the way for a new financial system. That's why we love Bitcoin.
Absolutely. And while Jebb was saying that, I just wanted to point one more takeaway for you traders who are looking to see how this bill is going to affect other parts of the market. So in this part, to address climate change, the bill will provide billions in tax credits to help and expand clean energy transition infrastructure. So I pulled up a chart of TAN, which is a solar ETF, and on the day, man, it has really rallied on that news. So
that makes sense.
There's going to be a bunch, like solar companies are going to be able to say, hey, we're not going to pay as much taxes this year legally because of these tax credits. So that's going to wrap up our market pulse. Thank you all for watching. It's been a real pleasure to deliver you all the news in crypto.
Absolutely. Boom. Well, we're going to go ahead and bring in our guest and run through a little bit of technical analysis. We're going to let him show us some charts. As we talked about earlier, we had an inkling that Kelly was somewhere in the room, and now Kelly is here with me. Kelly, how are you doing, my friend? Welcome to Coffee and Crypto. It's been too long.
I am doing absolutely fantastic. As any of you that have been watching for a while, you could see the money trees that I got in the background. I have been watering them through the bear market, and they are green. They're greener than they've ever been. So if that's a signal, I don't know what is, but I got some great charts I want to go through. I'm gonna touch on chain, but I really want to just show some comparative charts with traditional markets, with where we're at now, and then zoom it into exactly where we're at on a 4-hour chart on Bitcoin and give some signals, if that's okay.
Go for it, dude.
All righty. So first thing I want to bring up here is this is a tweet that I did a while earlier this week. And this right here is the MVRV Z-score. And this essentially, for anybody that's not aware of the MVRV Z-score, if you're not fully understanding what it really is, essentially what this means is when this is the sum value of all Bitcoin from the last time they were moved. So when the price is moving away from, moving up like this, this is basically moving away from the mean. This is showing that the price is overheated. It's the market value to realized value. So the price you see on the chart versus the sum total of the last time all Bitcoin have moved. And as you can see, we're in a very, as I pointed out, a very asymmetric risk to reward setup. Now, one of the things I do want to caution people is that with on-chain data, we've a lot of on-chain analysts basically really took a huge lesson this last bull market when in November of 2021, when we had this massive peak at 69,000 and we started correcting. A lot of people were considering that it was going to be a small correction and then rocket back up to the moon because all the on-chain data still showed bullish. Well, we need to consider the fact that, and you pointed this out beautifully on the channel regularly, that we're in a position right now contextually with the broader markets, global markets, geopolitical, everything that Bitcoin has never faced. So the fact that it's holding up as well as it has is actually beautiful because there's been so much thrown at it. Now, going into a couple more charts here, I just want to sort of further highlight this asymmetric risk. Even if we drop a little further, our reserve risk, we essentially have a hidden bullish divergence just in this chart alone. But take out the divergence, just take out any of that, and you can see we're essentially, this is the lowest, when this bounced here, it was the lowest the reserve risk has ever been. And this is a different way of measuring essentially the risk on the market, the appetite, all these sorts of things. Excuse me. Sorry about that. And then, of course, we have the Powell multiple, which I wanted to include because this takes into account what's going on with the miners revenue. Are they moving? Are they moving coins? Are they holding coins? How profitable is it for them to be mining and have their machines on. And as you can see, every time the Powell multiple is dipped into this basically green box, it doesn't go sideways like as you see on MVRV. This could be sideways for a long time in here. It's not to say that that won't happen on Powell multiple at some point, but historically speaking, when you look at any sort of form of analysis, you're looking at the statistics and how regular something does occur or doesn't occur, or the frequency of it. And in this case, we could see it tends to only dip into this sort of this level, which is a very identifiable buy zone. As you can see, are marked with these blue lines. Every time it's dipped has been excellent. Would you have missed this? Sure. But are we trying to time the exact bottoms or exact tops? No, we want to find those opportunities that provide the best risk to reward opportunity. So the next thing I wanted to show is this right here. This is a short-term holder cost basis. And as you can see, it's a very good indicator of what sort of market we're in when we basically find support on it and then break that STH, which is short-term holder cost basis. That has been the basis of the bull market every time. Every way through, boom, boom, boom. The only time it didn't was right here when we did pull back down, and that was the pandemic black swan in March of 2020. But we very quickly got back above it, and it was a bull market. This, of course, was a little bit of an outlier. We did have this doesn't look large, but if anybody that follows charts daily, they'll know that this was actually still quite a large push. But I still contend that this necessarily wasn't, although the number was higher, I don't consider this as a bull market top. I still consider this because of a lot of other metrics that indicate this was more from demand buying, and this was more from the lack of selling. This was the strength of holding that brought this up. Now, to zoom in a bit further, this is a macro trend price bands chart that I put together. And this is just to kind of further support this short-term holder cost basis. And I want people to realize that just because we break this doesn't mean we're absolutely going to just rocket to the moon, because Bitcoin and all markets right now are whipsawing back and forth, taking all the liquidity they can from people, getting them to go long just for the market makers to short it, or then pushing it down to get everybody to go short, and the market makers pushing it back up. So we have these three sort of critical areas that I've basically illustrated, which is this short-term holder cost basis, which is the same thing from this chart right here. And then, of course, this important neckline, which isn't an on-chain metric. This is a technical analysis metric. This was where we really, from a structural standpoint, entered the bear market, because we had the macro, lower low and lower high that we broke this critical juncture right here. So we need to get that. This short-term holder cost basis, I think right now is 27,103, as you can see right here. And then this line right here is basically 28 to 31,000 region, which is a critical zone we have to get through. And then, of course, this, what do you call it? I call it the bull trend signal band, but it's also the 55-week moving average. And that's about 41,400. And this is critical. I didn't mark it on here. This is also essentially the same point at which the golden retrace is from the top here to the bottom here. This is the golden pocket right in this region. So not only is it the 55-week moving average, it's also the golden pocket.
Well, that's really.
Did you have something you wanted to say?
Yeah, no, I was going to say that's incredible. So that $30,000 region is extremely important, because that's the golden pocket, but it's also it's also where some of the most important moving averages are. Do you think we're going to have the strength to go towards the 30K golden pocket relatively soon, or is that something we're going to have to wait a long while to see a retracement to?
Well, first thing is the golden pocket is at 42,000. The $30,000 level is the neckline from which we broke. That was essentially the M double top. I'll pull it back up on my screen. And that is this neckline right here. As you can see, this basically double top. This neckline is a 28 to 30K region. And I can zoom it in a bit further on the charts, which I wanted to do. If we come here on the daily, go to auto. So this region right here, this is basically that we need to break through. But the important thing to consider is this looks crazy zoomed in, but the important thing to consider is, although we are making some strong headway right here, there's a lot of resistances above it. We have the golden retrace just from this drop right here. This is at 25,000. We have this basically trend line that's right here coming down, which is 24. We have a lot of work to do. Right. And then the last thing I wanted to point out here is everybody's considering that we're just going to have this monster bull, even if it's a relief rally, that we're going to have a rally. And I want to point out to anybody that hasn't been in the space, if you have been in the space, you'll remember this period right here was just directly sideways. And this is from September all the way through November. This is 2 months of basically sideways, moving around 10% oscillations. Same thing here, same thing here, same thing here. So when we really start getting moving right here, the movement might just be sideways oscillations for up to 3 months, potentially, maybe even longer. I'm a little bit more bullish than that. But the last thing I do want to point out, though, is looking at the context of the markets that we are showing a lot of correlation with in the last 6 months. We have these basically upward ascending triangles, ascending wedges on S&P 500, Dow Jones. This is a tech stock Micron, which is more of a specific correlation with looking at a specific tech stock. And these are bearish patterns, and we did open below them. We've pushed back in, but we're right at this apex. So I'm not saying these will break down, but if these do break down, we need to be prepared, because it's a strong possibility that Bitcoin will also see a pullback. And that's also in context with the Dixie trying to break out of this upper resistance right here on, it's not really a bull flag, but this descending channel in a bullish movement. So there's a lot of stuff going on right now. There's a lot of stuff to watch out for. And I've shared this tweet as a tweet on my Twitter at KellyKellam. You can see all the levels. But the last thing I'll just say is, if you just buy and hold, never trade, and don't sell for at least a year or more, just DCA over time, you'll have so much less stress, less complex, and lower taxes. I'm not a tax consultant. This is not financial advice. But at the point you do sell and take profits, you'll have a lot easier time. And, it's just pays dividends to buy and hold.
It absolutely does. And that's one of the biggest things that we need to be doing right now, is we need to be watching Bitcoin and, dollar cost averaging into it, buying it, holding it. I was talking to Kevin yesterday on Market Talks, Kevin O'Leary, and I brought up Michael Saylor. And because, Kevin O'Leary is all about diversification. And I told him the analogy that Michael Saylor uses of, what's the point of being diversified between a ship that's growing and building and getting stronger and a ship that's sinking? And Kevin was like, well, how's that working out for Michael Saylor? And I didn't say it because I didn't want to, I wasn't trying to start drama. I just wanted his opinion on that. But what I was thinking about that is that, Michael Saylor is all in on Bitcoin, and a lot of people are making fun of him right now. Wall Street Journal's coming out making, comments about like, oh, he made $1 billion bet and lost. Michael Saylor is going to be the one who ends up laughing all the way to the bank, or I guess all the way to his private keys, because here in 5-10 years, dude's going to be worth $100 billion, and MicroStrategy is going to be worth, MicroStrategy will probably be worth $100 or $200 billion. He'll probably be worth $20 or $30 billion because of his bet on Bitcoin. And that might not be the most stable bet. It can go down 70%. But I think, I'm not saying Kevin or Michael Saylor are wrong in what they're doing, because one is betting on stable, long-term, lower return growth, and the other is betting on less stable, stronger growth. The point is, what both of them would say is dollar cost average, buy slow and hold long, and especially try and buy those bottoms. So I think that that's something that we definitely need to keep in mind, is that even if we're buying into an industry like cryptocurrency, a sector like cryptocurrency, and even if we're down 70%, the best thing we can do is continue to buy and hold. But Kel, if you have any thoughts on that, I'd love to hear them. But I also want to hear your thoughts on the Dixie before we jump into our discussion, because Dixie has rallied significantly over just the last couple of hours, and I'd love to hear your thoughts on why that may be occurring.
Well, I mean, the markets are just in a very precarious state right now. Everybody, I don't want to say everybody, the majority of people that are diving into these markets, with this pullback, it's surprising. We talked about it yesterday on the Crypto Answered show I had with Crypto Burb and Caleb Franzen and a couple other people, that, there's all this data that's available to everybody, and more and more people are accessing this data. So we're not relying just on what the Fed says in a press conference. We're not relying just on what the narrative is pushed in some sort of, market media outlet, whether it be, online publication, newspaper. And so there's all this aggregated data, and then this huge community, through socials like Twitter, Discord, private communities like Club DeFi, and so on and so forth. And so when Powell comes in and puts a 75 basis points hike, but then comes out dovish, but on the flip side, we have everybody else in the, all these institutional investors and now retail investors looking at all this aggregated data, and they're seeing energy prices dropping. They're seeing everybody's starting to make their own sort of somewhat fractured into groups rather than just being one way of thought, mode of thinking, or their plan of action about what they're doing with their investments. And so I think that's a good thing and a bad thing, because I think sometimes it's hard to look at a piece of data and really understand that this data may give a signal sometimes, but also balance that with the fact that these professional institutional investors are looking at that with a team of 70 or 80 other people plus computer algorithms and comparing it to, collating it with a very wide array of data to make those determinations. So I think the market is trying to be bullish right now, and then it's getting pushed back by news for coming out of the UK, or even what's going on in Japan with the Japanese yen, now with Taiwan and China. So I think people, depending on these fractured groups within the investment space, are basically fighting this bullish bearish narrative, fear risk approach. And I think we're seeing it play out directly by looking at the Dixie. When the Dixie's rising, there's a lot of money that's, basically moving out of other assets or other fiat currencies or treasury bonds or investments, whatever it is, into the dollar, and then vice versa. Then other news comes out on other, in other asset classes, and then those other things pump and the Dixie comes down. So we're seeing the battle. It's a very even battle right now, because as you can see, we're holding about in that same region, $21,000 to $24,000 now for the better part of a month. So I think right now it's time for patience and caution, but having your action plan to make the move when you need to.
And what do you think that move's going to look like when we see Bitcoin trading sideways down here below $24,000 for months? We have to ask ourselves the question, what is causing that? We got down here during the Luna debacle. We had 3 Arrows Capital, Voyager, Celsius. We had drama with them. There's so many different companies and geopolitical and traditional financial forces, such as the interest rates, inflation, economic data, GDP that came out and that has held the market down. What do you think it's going to take for Bitcoin to really kick off a new bull market in spite of all of these fundamental headwinds?
Well, honestly, I think it's going to take several, like a domino effect of several major news stories in Bitcoin to garner the first, basically being the match that starts to light the fuse, that then, there's no wind on that fuse, that the fuse can get all the way to the rocket, so then it can to go up. So, but that's only one part of the story. The other part of the story is we can't have, if the stock market crashes another 25%, I think if we got really positive news in the Bitcoin space, we would have some sort of a relief rally, but I think we would be pulled down by the grander context and the grander sort of psyche narrative around markets and risk assets, because Bitcoin is still dominated by retail investors. However, the people that are big money, institutional, when they make moves, it makes huge waves in the space, because they're not closing a position of $10 million. They're closing a position of $300 million, or in Tesla's case, over $900 billion. So I think right now time is, I hate to say it because I'm so bullish. Time is the biggest thing, and patience. We need to let the markets settle. And sometimes, as I pointed out, sometimes settling is just going sideways. Or if it's going up, it needs to slowly stair step up, pull back, stair step up, pull back. Otherwise, if any movement that we have up strong, I'm going to be very skeptical of. Even if we rocket up to the 42 golden pocket, I would take that short in a minute. If we were there within a month, I would short the heck out of that, because that's not healthy movement. We need time on our side so that the market movement is healthy.
So then, in that case, what do you think is going to happen here in September? Because on September 19th, Ethereum 2.0's supposedly going to launch. I'd love to hear your opinion on whether or not you think that's actually going to occur or not. Then we're going to see the FOMC meeting on the 20th and the 21st, and they're probably going to come out with a 50 to 75 basis point hike. But as T-Shroom was talking about earlier, we have pretty bullish beat numbers for unemployment and also for non-farm payrolls and some of the other metrics like year-over-year, month-over-month payroll increases. What do you think do you think in that week of September 19th, we're going to see a big shoot up? Because let's say Ethereum 2.0 does launch. Let's see, we do have that number come out and it's 50 basis points, could that be the catalyst that we need to go into a big rally? Or do you think that, on the flip side, maybe Ethereum 2.0 gets pushed back, or it's a flop and it causes a buy the rumor, sell the news event? We come out with 75 or 100 basis points, and then that causes a drop. Are you looking at that week where all of those different factors are coming in convergence? And do you think that that's too early for Bitcoin to potentially start making a strong move to the upside?
I mean, to be perfectly frank, I think that we're actually going to have a somewhat of a mini, like a secondary or tertiary trend, bullish trend within this 2 months, because we have a sort of a vacuum right now going while we're waiting for the next FOMC meeting. And I do think it's very likely, barring any sort of major geopolitical nonsense that's coming out of Southeast Asia right now.
Yeah.
I think that we are going to have some bullish movement in the markets. Now, the other thing to consider, a lot of people are talking about Ethereum, the release September 19th, and they're talking about, is it going to push up? Is it going to sell off? Well, look at it. Look at the grander picture. Ethereum and Bitcoin work very, very correlative to each other, sometimes inversely, sometimes with each other. As you know, at the end of the previous bull markets for Bitcoin, when the Bitcoin started to break down, all the money flowed out of Bitcoin and into alts. We had a massive alt season,
Right.
two massive times. And so now the reason I bring that up is because if people are investing in Ethereum riding a wave up into the launch or into the merge, then I do think that there's going to be some risk managed sort of speculation that rather than selling off, those people I don't think they're going to be moving their moving their asset into fiat. I think they're going to be, doing the rotation through assets. I think once they move out of Ethereum, if that were the case, the place to be then would be perfect for Bitcoin. So because they're not going to be moving out of Ethereum into some super small cap coin. It might be, 20% or something to smaller cap coins, but the majority is going to move back into Bitcoin. So I think the pair between the ETH BTC pair is going to be very interesting to watch in the next 2 months.
I think you're right, and that's one of the directions I want to go with this, because Ethereum's 2.0 launch, obviously, if that merge happens and if it goes well, we're probably going to see it's obvious that we're likely going to see a big movement to the upside for Ethereum leading into that, especially after we get to the point where we know that it's coming and it's not going to actually get delayed. Do you think that Ethereum at this point in time, and especially considering the state of the market where Bitcoin's being held down quite a bit, that Ethereum is in a position to kick off the bull market itself, or will Ethereum going into a rally on its own not be enough and get crushed because Bitcoin might not be moving with it? Can Ethereum really kick off a bull market on its own, or will we have to wait for Bitcoin to start moving much more than it is right now?
Well, if you really look at the charts deeply, I don't think either one of those things ever, Bitcoin of course did, but I don't think any times in the past where Ethereum was leading the charge to Bitcoin, I think the setup was also already brewing in Bitcoin. Sometimes a news cycle or a narrative push or a fundamental shift in development or something like that might kick something off before something else. But I don't think we can just plan on it just because Ethereum is going to push up. I think it's going to be relative to what's happening fundamentally on it. And if that news story comes out before this one and they both have a setup, then Bitcoin will definitely get the nudge from Ethereum, because they're sharing that retail sentiment. And if any of these risk assets in the top 5 or so really start pushing hard, all these things they're different size coals or different size pieces of firewood in a fire, right? And if any one of those ignites, it does, the smaller ones start more slowly to light the other logs, but the bigger ones more quickly light So I think all are working in tandem, and we're starting to see a lot of bullish setups come across the board. But again, I'm seeing some bearishness on the traditional market. So again, right now is just caution and just if you're in, just be in and figure out what your time horizon is and be okay with that and stop staring at the 15-minute chart.
Yeah, for sure. Well, one of the things I also want to touch on, because, Bitcoin and cryptocurrency has really been playing second fiddle to a lot of geopolitical and traditional financial forces over the last 2 years. We've been watching, ever since the pandemic began, traditional forces have been moving the market substantially. Before that, Bitcoin was a little bit more decoupled from traditional markets. There were things that happened, such as China banning Bitcoin for the 37th time, causing things to happen on the price. But for the most part, Bitcoin was moving a little bit more in a vacuum than it does now. Now it typically moves heavily on the result of Federal Open Market Committee meetings, on the result of, war in Eastern Europe resulting from pandemics. So I ask you this is kind of a hot button issue, so feel free to dodge it or tread lightly. What do you think happens to Bitcoin and cryptocurrency if something does actually kick off in the South China Sea and with Taiwan?
My needy dog here, much like my portfolio, is wanting just some calm energy to prevail. But if China and Taiwan, and now I don't know if you saw the news stories, even Japan, they're upset now that some of those missiles went into their territorial waters.
Yeah.
So if something were to happen, I do think it would be a massive downward pressure on the markets because, I think, I don't know if it was, I'm not sure if it was on this channel or another channel yesterday. I think it was on this channel. How much international shipping goes through the Taiwan Strait. So we already have massive logistical bottlenecks going on around the world. It's supply chain issues. If that were to happen, you better bet it's going to have a direct impact on inflation as well, because all of a sudden, not inflation in terms of the printing, but inflation in terms of the prices rising, because we're going to have another massive negative push on the ability to have supply to meet demand. So then prices are going to go up from that as well. So there's a lot riding on what's going on geopolitically right now. And I think that's all. I think without that, I think the markets would already start rebounding more strongly, but everybody's very cautious right now because there's so much, it's just unclear with what's happening globally.
Yeah. And that's the tricky thing right now is that we're in a geopolitical atmosphere that the world really hasn't seen in 31 years. The last time that we had the kind of like a Cold War going on to the extent that we're seeing right now, where Russian airspace is closed down, ever since what was it, November 14th, I think, February 14th, February 10th, what was the day? Anyway, the point is, ever since
mid-Feb.
What was that?
It was mid-February, yeah.
It was mid-February. Ever since mid-February, it might have been February 20th. Ever since mid-February when it began, we have seen the entire world shut down again, arguably in a economically speaking, even more substantial way than what we saw with the pandemic. And now we have the uncertainty about whether or not Taiwan's going to get invaded. And they make 80% of global chips, something like that, and all of the most advanced chipsets on the newest architecture are made on the island of Taiwan. We have so much geopolitical instability and uncertainty in the world right now, and a lot of it's because of the broken systems that we have running the world that are very centralized. This is what Bitcoin was designed to help to solve, but for Bitcoin to get to that point of being able to really make an impact on the geopolitical stage, it has to first wade through in unstable geopolitical waters. So how do you think the Bitcoin and cryptocurrency space will be able to mature and grow? Because these geopolitical headwinds are probably not going anywhere anytime soon. In fact, they might just get stronger. Is Bitcoin just going to have to learn to grow through this, or is Bitcoin just going to stay in a depressed state for the next couple of years as, geopolitics continues to rear its unfortunately sad and ugly head?
Well, I'm going to point out something that we teach quite thoroughly in a few of the courses in Club DeFi, and that's, everybody's so focused on where the price is right now. When do I get my entry? When do I get my exit? Technical analysis. We forget about fundamental analysis. And when you look at the fundamentals of Bitcoin, despite what's happening with price in the last 3 years, Bitcoin is right now a little over 2x from where it was in January of 2020 when it was about $10,000, right? Now we are over 13 to 15x higher on the amount of transacted Bitcoin in US dollars in that same time frame. So we've 13x the use case of Bitcoin and the usability and the functionality of it, but where the price is only 2 times higher because price is driven by speculation, not value, right? We get so confused by that. So I do think that the fundamentals of Bitcoin are going to grow throughout the whatever bear market we have, however long it is. It's too important and incredible of a technology and like an advent of revolution that's it is and will change the world in ways we don't even understand yet over the next 100 years and onward. That the price right now doesn't matter. It just matters when you can stomach, when you can identify what your risk exposure level that you can stomach is, and being able to be strong enough to hold through it. Jeff Bezos, one of the richest men in the world, is one of, I think, 4 people or 5 people that from the time he got Amazon on the day it IPO'd, of course, he had his own allocation of his shareholdings of that. But he's one of 4 or 5 people out of everybody that never sold, and now he's one of the richest people in the world. And Amazon has a 17 to 40% correction every year, and sometimes 2 or 3. So it's a very volatile asset. And people talk about Bitcoin being volatile. Well, look at Amazon. Amazon's one of the biggest companies in the world, and nobody really talks about the volatility. They look at it like, oh, I can make money here. And so all these narratives need to come together, and we need to understand the fundamentals of Bitcoin so we don't get so worried in a downturn on the price. We look at the downturn like, yay, I get to feel better about entries right here versus running away when it's on sale. Everybody runs towards Bitcoin when it's at the top, and that's exciting. But what you should be running towards at the top is profits if you're going to be trading, and you run towards Bitcoin like to buy when it's down at these levels, which I pointed those charts out initially. Asymmetric risk to reward. Can it go down lower? Yes, but statistically, this is right now the region that you should be very heavily considering where your entries are, what you can afford, and whatever's best for you. You have to make your own decisions.
Well, running towards entries on the dip is something that we are all about, and that is why we are partnered with Hedge. Take it away, Smay.
Oh,
how about that for a setup?
Man, you know what's funny? Last
funny?
night, I was having trouble going to sleep.
Yeah?
And I was thinking about...
Just don't sleep.
Well, no, I just had this epiphany because I was showing my new roommate. I actually moved in with Zach.
Really?
So I showed him... I was talking to him about how I used to have a hedgehog. And then I was just like, you know what? Last night, I was like, I kind of want a hedgehog again. So I went on Craigslist, and I typed in hedgehog, and I
get hedge.io ad.
And I saw... Well, no, and then I saw this lady selling a hedgehog, so I sent her a message. And then I realized... You know what I really love about hedgehogs?
What?
Is that they're the mascot for one of my favorite crypto companies,
Boom.
Hedge. And so, guys, here's the thing about Hedge. Hedge is I think, it is literally the crypto company that I think every single person should be using. It literally is a payroll solution to have you get paid in Bitcoin. You don't even have to ever touch an exchange again. You literally just have Bitcoin or several other different cryptocurrencies to choose from, Ethereum and so on. You guys can have that sent directly to the wallet of your choice. You don't have to keep, this is a way to even circumvent, if you're worried about keeping money on exchange, you don't even have to keep money on exchange. You literally just have it go boom, boom, appear in your cold wallet, bam, bam, do it. You know what I mean? So, guys, I'm telling you, Hedge is probably one of the best companies in the crypto space right now. And it is the best way in the bear market, like Kelly was saying, to buy at these levels because you don't even have to do anything. You literally just set it up and then you're just getting richer by the second. Money. You know what I mean? You're getting that's how great it is. So link in the description. Check it out. We love Hedge, and I love hedgehogs. And their logo is a hedgehog, a very cute hedgehog. So. That
is true. You can get little stickers of him in a police suit or a firefighter suit. It's pretty cool. Make sure to go to gethedge.io. Smay, you have a beautiful mind.
Thank
you.
Know
that?
Thank you.
The way that you just come up with stuff and segues, it's a beautiful thing. T-Shroom, your mind's all right. I appreciate it. I'm sorry. That wasn't supposed to be mean, but it kind of sounds. You have a very beautiful mind, T-Shroom. Do you have any questions for Kelly before we sign off?
Kelly, New York, what is the weather like right now? Is it starting to get a little chillier as we move into August, or is it still pretty warm?
No, you know what? It's been surprisingly. I mean, we've had some hot days, but it's been a surprisingly mild summer. And when you live in the Northeast, it makes you wonder when you have a mild summer. Does this mean I'm going to have a really cold winter? But either way, you know what? I got coats to throw on, so nice. It's all good. I don't mind the cold. I sleep with the window open, even when it's snowing out. So not wide open, a crack. But no, things are good. I've just been focused, sitting here on the charts and wrapping up a bunch of stuff on Club DeFi, and excited to be back here. I appreciate you guys bringing me back on. I love the whole community and really respect everybody.
I have a question for Kelly.
Yep.
I'm a Pisces.
No, that wasn't my question. Kelly, I want to know, how do you handle? How do you live with yourself walking around every single day and being that, awesome. You know what I mean? Like I don't understand like how that burden on your shoulders has to be like, do people even be friends with you to genuinely be friends with you, or they're just friends with you because of how great you are? Like, you know what I mean? I don't even understand. That's got to be really tough. So tell us about that struggle, Kelly.
Well, first off, I'm honored that you think of me that way. I don't consider myself that way. I consider that what I really try to do is find something absolutely beautiful in anybody I meet so that I can help them feel that way. And I think by doing it, I think if everybody did that rather than finding flaws in things, they say, how can I connect with this? How can I connect with this person? How can I learn from them? Maybe they're trying to say this, even though I'm feeling this. I think the world would be a better place and we wouldn't have this issue in China and Taiwan.
Well, I think you bring a lot of very beautiful things out of me, and I hope to bring a lot of beautiful things out of you. So.
Oh, you do. Thank you so much. I love you guys. It's a family we got.
That's great. That's right. That's right. All right, Jebb. I'm going to send it back to you to close it.
It is family, but we have super chats.
Oh,
we have super chats. Oh my gosh.
See, that was a test.
That was a
test. Jebb, this is great. I got to make sure you're still sharp. You're still ready for it. So
I'm here.
So I sent it over to you, and
I feel
you
like
sent
a
it
jerk
back.
now because of the joke I made with T-Shroom, but because it was funny in my head, and then I said, I'm like, wow, I actually feel really bad about that.
Hey, T-Shroom, you have a beautiful mind.
You have a beautiful mind, T-Shroom.
I don't know if I'll ever be able to recover from that.
I'm sorry.
But you know what else he has? He has beautiful retinas because we really want to keep those retinas safe. So guys, I'm serious.
Dude, your retina's not on display.
It's a summer, especially when you're living in the South. The sun gets really bright, guys. Take care of your eyes. You only have one pair of them.
My son is very smart.
And when those eyes go, I mean, things get a whole lot darker in life.
That's true.
That's right.
But if your eye is bad,
so,
how deep the darkness is. That's what Jesus says.
So, anyways, I would like to say we have one super chat from Elliot Locke. He says, if we want Bitcoin to be adopted, don't we need to be using it every day in life? How will holding and not using it help it get adopted? Just curious.
So, can I answer that?
Yeah, go for it.
Well, holding, you saw in the second peak last cycle when we went up to 69,000, that sort of push up that high was only really supported by the fact that people weren't selling. Now, of course, we broke down from there, but what I'm pointing out is by more people being involved in the network, more people being on it, more people holding right now will the long-term holders give strength to market moves. So the more long-term holders you have, the stronger a bullish market move is. When you start seeing long-term holders sell, that's when you get more short-term holders buying. Short-term holders are much quicker to capitulate, and it basically increases the potential volatility. Now, how does that help Bitcoin in the long run? As Bitcoin grows as an asset class, and there's more and more people involved, and there's more liquidity in that asset class, the volatility will shrink over time. And the more the volatility shrinks, the more likely it will be used on a daily basis.
Well, boom. There you go.
Boom. And that is all our super chats. So I just want to say, T-Shroom, you have a beautiful mind. You have beautiful retinas.
Thank you.
Jebb, you have a beautiful mind. Your retinas could use some work. You're going to need to go get some more better sunglasses.
Yeah,
you
my
said yours
sunglasses
broke.
jacked up.
Oh, we have another super chat. That's great. I was stalling to get more super chats. We have, what do you think of investing in a crypto hedge fund? Please check your email. Curious to know your thoughts on it.
I don't know about investing in a crypto hedge fund, but I know about investing your crypto funds in hedgegetio.com. I'm sorry, I had to.
That was see, and that's why I said you have a beautiful mind, because you do.
Thank you. I appreciate
and
that.
So, guys, in case you guys
what is a crypto? Like 3 Arrows Capital is a crypto hedge fund.
Oh,
right?
that's a great one right now. No, don't.
No,
3AC is dead.
So, Kelly has something to say.
Kelly's here.
No, I was going to say, we've had this whole last 4 months of massive learning around the reason why, hold your coins, hold your keys. Your coins aren't your coins unless you're holding your own keys. So if you're having your assets being managed by somebody else, that's one of the beauties and missions of Bitcoin and crypto is being decentralized. The moment that you're participating in a managed hedge fund from somebody else or another team of people or institution, you are basically participating in traditional finance. In that case, participate in a regular hedge fund like Vanguard or something like that with a portion of your assets, but you can build your own hedge fund. That's what diversifying your portfolio is, getting Bitcoin, whatever you get, but something like Bitcoin, Ethereum, Cardano, AVAX, Polkadot, Chainlink, and then one or two smaller speculative coins at like 2% of your portfolio. That is essentially creating your own little personal sort of index, and that would be the smarter way to go. I would recommend.
It's something that you just mentioned there I find really great is you're saying, not your keys, not your coins. You really want to be able to hold you want to have custody of your own cryptocurrency, your own wallets, which is great because that's why Hedge is so great. Because I mean, you guys can literally have that cryptocurrency. You don't even have to go onto an exchange. It literally just goes to your cold wallet. Boom. You just circumvented all other custody, all other fingers on it. It went straight to your custody, baby. So that's what I love. It really is all about the DeFi revolution.
Can I shout something out also?
Yes,
please.
I don't want to say who it is, but it is a member of my family, and it just drives me. I cannot believe this. I support buying Bitcoin wherever you buy it, whether it's on Venmo, Cash App, PayPal, whatever it is. If that's your if that's your starting point, fine.
You're throwing Robinhood though.
But I do not recommend doing that on a consistent basis as being your point of regular purchasing or management of those funds. Because I had an argument with a member of my family about when the market was breaking down. You can't even set a buy order. You just every time you try to sell, the price moves so far, because he was trying to sell on PayPal. He didn't even realize that you could do a limit order. And so my whole point here is, if you are going to be transacting on any sort of crypto, identify a respectable exchange like Coinbase or Binance or one of the major exchanges that you do diligence on, and learn. It is your duty, because it's your responsibility. These are your assets, to learn about market orders, limit orders, sell orders, stop limit orders, and understand how you can navigate being in and out of a position on a coin, so that you don't find yourself lost on trying how to get out of a coin before it drops or when it's dropping or whatever it is, so you can manage your assets.
That's absolutely right. Well, let's read these last two super chats, then we gotta wrap it out because we're over time.
Yeah, that's right. I mean, but we love spending time with you guys, so it's like, am I upset that we're over time? No. Because I enjoy spending time with you guys.
I just want spaghetti.
That's true. I am a little hungry. So we have here from Troublesome Creek, blessed be thy Bitcoin, LOL.
Indeed. We are very blessed by Bitcoin.
And then Elliot Locke says, educate the population. # Club DeFi.
Got to get the population of the nation up to speed on their education.
Hey, you know what, guys? That is...
Pug says DCA.
Whoa!
Guys,
right there,
if you didn't just sign up for Hedge,
Maya just came in and said, buy Bitcoin.
Because of that, Pug, if you didn't just sign up for Hedge, I don't know what will make you sign up for Hedge.
That Pug just encouraged you to buy.
So anyways, Jebb, why don't we close it before we make
this
lose
Club
this
DeFi
anymore.
again. Thank you very much, Elliot Locke. Before we just slide on into some more Get Hedge plugs, we might just have to go ahead and Get Hedge and see our way on out of here. I don't get. Oh, so wow, this pug is beautiful. This pug is gorgeous. I'm looking at the screen right now, and I'm diverting myself. So anyway, guys, if you enjoyed today's stream, make sure to hit that like button or the dislike button twice. Hit that subscribe button if you haven't already. Hit the post notification bell so you'll be updated whenever we go live. Make sure to follow us on all of our social media. You can find all of those links down below, especially Kelly, because he got some great insight and some cool dogs that he watches over at KellyKellam over on Twitter. Before we go, though, guys, I do just first want to thank each and every single last one of you for watching, as always, and I will see you guys in the next video. Peace.
Oh, I got a real good feeling.